Explosive Arrow Ballista Champion. So for this build in particular, I use Zizaran's Explosive Arrow Champion Guide as a template for reference when gearing up and progressing my league starter. Throughout the course of these last 2 months, I've pushed my character's City Gym Guard all the way to level 99 from league start. In this video, I want to talk about how I leveled my character in this league, the strategies I've deployed to farm currency and upgrade gear, and my approach to completing my Atlas progression. To start off the season, I actually leveled as a bleed Lacerate champion. If you think this is a perfectly normal build to be playing during league start, trust me, it is about as bad as it sounds. Typically during league start, I like to try leveling with old builds that used to work in order to be reminded that I should have just chosen one of the top 5 meta builds from the previous league. So after pushing my build to about level 75 and realizing that there was just no way I could reasonably scale this build into mid-game Atlas progression, I started to buy up some blighted maps and farming them for the currency to respec into Explosive Arrow Champion. The reason that I usually opt for this farming strategy is because the minimum requirement to farm it is that you anoint your rings with Meteor Towers drop Burning Ground and Empowering Towers have 25% increased range. After farming quite a few of these maps until around level 89, I was able to use whatever profits I earned in order to convert my champion to a more typical league starter build, Zizaran's EA champion. After converting to this build, I was able to finish up my Atlas completion, by which point I also decided to purchase boss carries for Uber Elder and Maven so that I could access the remaining voidstones and sustain T16 maps. The strategy I decided to farm in order to continue upgrading my league starter was a simple Alch and Go strategy that involved farming delirium orbs with Wandering Path, Eater Influence, and Expedition. You can find a link to my video on that in the description below. My favorite maps were Beach and Strand because Beach dropped the Divine Orb card, and Strand was really effective for farming delirium mirrors. For my gear, I went with a +3 to socketed gem bow with attack speed, wed, and fire dot multi. Since this build scales especially well with attack speed, I chose to enchant the bow with more attack speed, and the extra crit roll was just a little cherry on top in order to sustain elemental overload. Earlier in the league, I purchased this bow for around 20 divines after having sold a few of my own bows for 5 divines each. For my rings, I aimed for as high of a resistance profile as I possibly could, and also chose amethyst rings for an additional 46% chaos resistance in the implicit modifier. The extra flat cold damage modifier here was especially important to have in order to proc elemental equilibrium, which would inflict an additional -25% fire resistance on enemies. My Quiver was one that I bought during week 1 for 30 chaos, and it has attack speed, high damage increase, a high life roll, and a bit of fire res and crit chance. For the belt, I went with a Dyadian Dawn since this is a very efficient item for this build in particular due to the ignite modifier. On the helmet, I was able to purchase a pig face bassinet with the attack speed enchant for 1 divine on week 1. After that, I simply spammed the helmet with deafening essences of greed until I hit triple Ellie res and an open prefix where I crafted +1 to socketed AoE gems. This item was where I socketed my auras. Since this league allowed players to optimize their characters with tattoos, it was important for me to fit as many attributes as I could onto my amulets. This amulet grants a total of 68 intelligence, 42 strength, and 23 dexterity. It is also very important to have the +1 to all fire skill gems here in order to scale the damage of Explosive Arrow. I bought this amulet for 60 chaos. Now for the body armor, I was able to purchase this base for 1 divine and just spammed deafening essences of greed until I hit the following resistance modifiers with an open prefix where I crafted % life and mana. The nice thing about this build is that a second 6 link isn't necessary since the body armor can be used for utility gems. I like to have my Infernal Cry, Frenzy, Blink Arrow, and Vitality socketed into the body armor here. Now for the boots, I bought this base for 1 divine as well and spammed essences of Envy until I hit high lightning resistance and an open prefix where I crafted life. Since I needed to fill out my spell suppression, I bought this pair of gloves for 1 divine and spammed it with deafening essences of greed for the life roll and got really lucky with the T1 attack speed and open suffix. On my flask, I prioritized armor, evasion rating, movement speed, and reduce curse effect. Since the build doesn't do too well against bleeds or corrupted blood, especially in maps that reduce life recovery, I run with a corrupted blood cleansing modifier on my life flask. Now for the tattoos, the most important tattoos to run are the Honored tattoo of the Hunter on agility, tattoo of the Ramiko Makunga next to elemental equilibrium, and as many life regeneration tattoos as you can fit. The Hunter tattoo grants +1 to all dexterity skill gems, and since explosive arrow scales well with gem level, this was an absolute no-brainer. An important thing for the Ramiko Makunga tattoo that grants an additional projectile is that you need to socket a warrior's tail jewel nearby in order to fire 2 additional projectiles. Aside from these modifications with the tattoos, this passive tree is very much similar to what was outlined in Zizaran's POB. Aside from the tattoos, I did also path down to Graceful Assault and grab the Mastery there in order to improve the build's survivability and clear speed, which allowed me to push City Gym Guard all the way to level 99 by farming Delirium in T16 maps. That's all for this video. If you want to support my content, be sure to check out my second channel where I'll address any thoughts, questions, or suggestions that you guys left for me directly from the comments section below. Thanks for watching the video, and I hope to see you all next time.